Welcome to episode 1 of Aiden's World. It's Aiden's World, the only man living inside of it. He can do whatever he wants to do. It's Aiden's World. Episode 1, Violation of Exceptionalist Moral Principles. Today we'll be talking about exceptionalist moral principles. But what are exceptionalist moral principles? Exceptionalist moral principles are principles that society has put on itself to follow and to decide what is right and wrong. Today, for example, is Pink Shirt Day, and kindness is a moral principle, and being rude is also a moral principle. You know, kindness is seen as right, being rude is seen as wrong, and it's absolute. But most moral principles, people can argue that they are situational, such as murder. Is murder when you're defending yourself murder? If somebody is planning to harm you in a lethal way and you do it first to them to protect yourself and your safety, does that make it still wrong, or is it ethically right? Same thing with genocide. If a nation is attacking another nation, does that make that nation in the wrong? Even though we don't know pre-context to what the other nation has done or why the nation is attacking that nation, it depends on pre-context and situational clues to decide where these moral principles should reside. Okay, that makes sense, Aiden. But why did I find this interesting, and why did I pick it? Well, as someone who will be going to York University for psychology, I'm very interested in how the brain works and why people think the way they do. I'm also interested in how society works and how society creates its own boundaries and its own social norms. So, of course I'm going to find morals interesting. Question. Does suicide count as murder in the sense of moral principles? If it does, why is it morally wrong? With cyberbullying and online bullying becoming so rampant in recent years, has this become a more prominent and easier thing to digest for the general public through technology? Many nowadays would not consider these absolute principles, such as murder, incest, or even stealing, absolute. Why is that? Even though most institutions will be based off of it, is it possibly because religion has become less prominent in society? With technological advancements, does the sharing of this content online also break this moral rule? Before we move on to the interviews, I do want to say that the audio of this interview with my friend did not record, so I had to recall what she said in my own words. Is murder and or genocide unethical and or morally unjust? It depends on the situation, but normally, yes.
But morally, morals are made by people. It is unjust. If you think what Israel is doing to Palestine, whether you agree or whether you support Palestine, which Hamas is a terrorist organization, it does not matter. What they're doing is considered an ethnic genocide. That is not okay.
What determines when an absolute moral principle, such as murder, incest, or stealing, can be broken? All of these examples of moral principles are situational except for incest. In no situation can incest be ethically or morally right.
Murder has to be justified in self-defense, I'd argue. Incest is never justified. We can look at Russia. A lot of them in the crazy mountains in like places like Dagestan, they marry their cousins there. I don't think how that's ever possible. After a certain point, after so many generations, you're going to have issues. It's not justified. I think stealing can just be justified. If you can't eat and you got to go steal yourself a can of baked beans to make sure you can put food on the table for your family, I'd argue that's justified. If you got to steal to make ends meet, it's justified. But if you're stealing for the love of the game, no, that is immoral and that is unethical. There's a difference when you have to do it and when you want to do it, and you should never want to do it.
This is the final result of my painting. My camera's broken. Excuse the wobbliness. This is my little sheet. Society would fight a lot of these. A lot of them are situational, and you know, growing up in an alcoholic household, like a lot of indigenous children, you know, you see people, especially on the res, you see people who aren't acting responsibly, who have no morals at all, who don't care for themselves. Their senselessness is just out the window. And I really connected with that part where it's like, you know, people, because what I really got from this is that people don't agree with these morals, and they shouldn't. And that I just like really was like, wow. The end.